Hello everyone, today we have a unexpected, unfortunate, last minute turn of election results for Speaker of the House. Let's get into today's video. The article headlines and reads, Republican Mike Johnson reelected House Speaker after dramatic floor vote. Unfortunately, the article begins and reads, Republican Mike Johnson won re-election to the House speakership on a first ballot Friday, pushing past GOP hard-right holdouts bowed with a nod of support from President-elect, unfortunately, Donald Trump. The article goes on to read that a collection of hardline Republicans convened in the back of the House chamber during a tense roll call on the first day of the new Congress, one by one declining to vote or choosing another lawmaker. The standoff sparked fresh turmoil, signaling trouble ahead under unified GOP control of Washington. The article goes on to read that in the end, however, Johnson was able to flip two remaining holdouts who switched to support him, drawing applause from Republicans. As the most recent speaker, Johnson's weak grip on the gavel threatens not only his own survival, but President-elect Donald Trump's ambitious agenda of tax cuts and mass deportations as Republicans sweep to power. Newly elected House lawmakers started casting votes as Johnson's name was put forward for nomination by the GOP conference chair, Representative Lisa McClain, who is a Republican from Michigan. The article goes on to read that, begin, quote, no speaker is perfect, end quote. She said, but the goal is to make progress towards shared priorities for the country, she said. Begin, quote, none of us will get exactly what we want, end quote. The article goes on to read that Democrats put forward their own leader, Hakeem Jeffries of New York, as the only one with a track record of compromise and achievement in the face of chaos and dysfunction under the GOP majority. The article reads that, begin, quote, House Democrats are united behind the most powerful legislative leader in this chamber, said Republican representative from California, who is a Democrat, Pete Aguilera of Jeffries, recounting the many times their votes bailed out Johnson to ensure passage of important legislation. With opposition from his own GOP colleagues, Johnson arrived with outward confidence after working into the night to sway hardline holdouts. A flop by Johnson could throw Monday's congressional certification of Trump's 2024 unfortunate election victory into turmoil without a House Speaker. Even backing from Trump himself, usually a sure bet for Republicans, was no guarantee Johnson will stay in power. The article goes on to read that, begin quote, "We don't have time for drama," end quote, Johnson said as he walked into the Capitol. The Louisiana Republican received a renewed nod of support from Trump. Begin quote, "A win for Mike today will be a big win for the Republican Party," end quote, Trump posted on social media. What was once a ceremonial day, the next paragraph of the article reads, with newly elected lawmakers arriving to be sworn into office, often with family, friends, and children in tow, has evolved into a high stakes vote for the office of House Speaker, among the most powerful elected positions in Washington. Vice President Kamala Harris was swearing in the senators, while the Senate is able to convene on its own and has already elected party leaders. Senator John Thune as party leader, or as the Republican majority leader, and Senator Chuck Schumer for the Democratic minority. The House must first elect its Speaker, a role required by the Constitution, second in line of the succession to the president. Congress, the article goes on to read, has been here before when it took Republicans nearly a week and 15 rounds of voting to elect Kevin McCarthy as Speaker in 2023, a spectacle unseen in modern times. McCarthy was then dumped by his party in a historic House first vote. But he was also part of a long list of GOP speakers chased to early exits. The GOP stakes are higher this year as Trump prepares to unfortunately return to the White House, with the House and Senate in GOP control, and promising to deliver big on a 100-day agenda. Johnson has been working diligently to prevent defeat, spending New Year's Day at Mar-a-Lago as he positions himself alongside Trump. The Speaker often portrays himself as the quarterback who will be executing the political plays called by the coach, the president-elect, which is unfortunately Donald Trump. But Johnson also warned that without a House Speaker, there would be a constitutional crisis heading into January 6th with Congress by law is required, or when Congress by law is required to count the electoral votes for president weeks before Trump is set to be inaugurated on January 20th. The article goes on to read that, begin quote, "We don't have any time to waste," and I think that everybody recognizes that. He said, Johnson commands one of the slimmest majorities in modern times, having lost seats in November, or in the November election, with the sudden resignation of Representative Matt Gaetz, who is a Republican from Florida, unfortunately. The tally dropped to 219 to 215. That leaves Johnson relying on almost every Republican for support in the face of Democratic opposition, though the typical 218 majority of 435 members needed could shift with absences and others voting only present. Heading into Friday, he did not have the full support he needed. Texas GOP Representative Chip Roy was among the most notable holdouts, the article reads, of an unflinching member of the Freedom, bear with me, caucus, who lasted into Republican leadership's handling of the year-end spending bill for failing to cut spending and adhere to House rules. The article goes on to read, begin quote, "Something must change," end quote. Roy posted on social media. He eventually voted for Johnson. Unfortunately, one hard no was Representative Thomas Massie, who is a Republican from Kansas, who voted for a different GOP leader, as did other far-right Republicans, including some who helped topple McCarthy. The article goes on to read that what's unclear is what other concessions Johnson can make to win support. 2 years ago, McCarthy handed out prime favors that appeared to only weaken his hold on power. The article goes on to read that already Johnson has clawed back one of those changes into a new House rule pushed by centrist conservatives that would require at least 9 members of the majority party on any resolution to oust the speaker, raising the threshold McCarthy had lowered to just 1. The article then goes on to say and read that, begin quote, "I think the holdouts are going to have to realize that, listen, Trump is right all the time," said Representative Troy Niels, who is a unfortunate Republican from Texas. Which, let me stop you right there, folks, and say that Trump is not right all the time. legally and constitutionally. He is continuing to spread lies, um, even as we speak, unfortunately. But that's just Trump, and that's what Trump is known for, and that's what he always does, is spread lies and misinformation. Let's continue with the article. Exiting the speaker's office late Thursday is what he said. Just know that Trump is right all the time. That's a bold-faced political lie, like I said. He is not right, especially all the time. It'll help you make a decision real simple. In many ways, Johnson has no choice but to endure political hazing by his colleagues as they remind him who has leverage in their lopsided relationship. He was a last ditch choice for the office, rising from the backbench once other leaders failed in the aftermath of McCarthy's ouster. The article goes on to read that Democrats under Jeffries are not expected not help save Johnson as they have in the past with their votes when he faced a threat of removal. The Speaker's election is set to dominate the opening of the new Congress, which also brings a roster of history-making members as the Senate expects to quickly begin hearings on Trump's nominees for top cabinet and administrative positions. The article goes on to read that in the Senate, two black women, Lisa Blunt, Rochester of Delaware, and Angela also Brooks of Maryland, were being sworn in, both wearing suits in white of the nation's history. Two black women senators will serve at the same time. Folks, as before I continue with the article, most, I hate to say it to you, but fortunately not all of Donald Trump's nominees are going to get accepted. That's facts, because most of them are unqualified, as previously reported. The article goes on to read that Senator-elect Andy Kim of New Jersey also is making history as the first Korean American to join the chamber. In the House, Sarah McBride is the first openly transgender person in Congress. The Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi, who recently suffered a fall overseas and underwent hip replacement surgery, will make her own return to Washington, a reminder of the power she wielded when Democrats last held the majority. Okay, folks, that is going to conclude it with today's video. If you did enjoy the video, please consider giving it a like and commenting your guys' opinions. If you guys did enjoy the video as well, please do consider liking and subscribing. It'll help me out a whole lot. And lastly, let's hope that what the Democrats are currently doing today and through the 5th, that Congress will uphold their oath and do what's right and disqualify Donald Trump from holding office due to his current status as an adjudicated oath-breaking insurrectionist by law and constitutionally. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I will talk to you guys later.